how are we? Welcome to episode 7 in my series of videos on zonal marketing, a brand new model which uses the tactical lessons taken from football management to help you understand, plan and measure your marketing activity effectively. I'm Simon Vincent, the marketing tactician, and in this episode I'm going to give a brief recap of what's come in the 6 episodes so far, but I'll also be taking it on a step by applying it to an example business. It doesn't matter greatly for now what the business sells, but let's at least establish that it's B2C. It sells to the end consumer rather than to other businesses, and that it sells a product rather than a service. Why would we pull together this formation? Well, there are 2 reasons. The first is to help us as marketers achieve a good balance of marketing activity, one that will satisfy all parts of the customer journey and ensure that we are well set up to sell as well as to serve our customers. The second reason is to help us have a clear idea on each channel's purpose and therefore have clarity on which metrics are important when examining performance over any given period. Thus far, we've essentially covered 3 things. How to choose your marketing channels, represented by organising your players by position, striker, midfielder, defender, goalkeeper. Secondly, how to target your marketing efforts, represented by how wide you place your players on the pitch. And thirdly, we've looked at how to tailor your marketing content or approach based on what you want to achieve, represented by assigning a player role of either space constrictor, possession retainer, possession regainer, or space creator. If you'd like a recap on any of those ideas, please see episodes 1 through 6 in my Zonal Marketing playlist. The client I'm going to use as an example conveniently has 11 marketing channels that they run on a consistent basis, with 1 additional channel that they sub in on a campaign basis. But remember, 5-a-side football teams exist, 7-a-side football teams exist. Some teams, Atletico Madrid for example, regularly play with 10 or even 9 men. So the number of channels you have at your disposal is not important. What is important is that you have at least 1 player in each position, striker, midfielder, defender, goalkeeper, and that you try to balance them out as best you can. This is where the concept of a formation comes in handy. So, without further delay, let's go into the details. Starting with the goalkeeper, this business has a CRM system that we use to track our marketing activity. It brings in data from a wide range of channels, manages customer information, and gives us quantitative as well as qualitative insights on a monthly basis, helping us to not only reward and look after current customers, but also to guide our marketing activity and manage our budgets based on what's performing best. As such, our goalkeeper has a proactive role in the team as opposed to a reactive goalkeeper, and they're the 2 denominations of that position. Moving on to the defence, this business has opted for a 3 at the back, consisting of phone, email and face-to-face, the latter of which is essentially a customer service desk in their store. The phone and face-to-face channels, numbers 2 and 3 on this board, are in the customer demanded zones, i.e. the customer has to reach out to us, the company, in order to communicate with us on those channels. We don't do telemarketing, for example. This is, in essence, customer service. And what's the purpose of customer service? To retain our customers. Therefore, both channels have a possession retention role within the mix. The approach they predominantly take is to help the customer interact with the product in much the same way that lifestyle content, which is also possession retaining, shows the product being used by the customer. Both of these 2 channels are handled by 1 team inside the business who've been trained to specifically help customers with using the product. So think of the customer service team in the shop as being a bit like Apple's Genius Bars, for example. The third defender, or number 4 here, is email marketing. Now you notice he's a little bit higher up in the mix there. While it's still a channel, email, through which our customers can contact us and therefore can shift back a little bit, it is predominantly used in a proactive and personalized way by the company to send salesy content to customers, typically in the form of, let's say, replenishment emails when they're likely to have run out of their last order. As such, the content is product focused and therefore space constricting in its role, and that's why it predominantly sits high up in this box here. For this company, the proactive email marketing is handled by an outside agency who are predominantly measured on the number of sales and the amount of revenue that results in the activity, based on the fact that we are a space constricting channel within our marketing mix. Staying through the middle just for a second, this company does Facebook advertising, number 5 over here, and search engine optimization, or SEO, number 6. The SEO is in the customer demanded zone, i.e. in order for the customer to engage with the marketing activity, they have to do a Google search to find it. Given that most Google searches in this client's industry are trying to find a fix for a problem that the customer has, we've optimized our keywords to appear for lifestyle searches, such as products for specific problem X. Hence its possession retaining position within this box. If I were to continue my Apple example from above, the search terms we might be optimizing for might be, let's say, best headphones for exercising in. And this would lead back to our AirPods page. We could, however, optimize for wireless headphones with active noise cancelling, and that would be a product search, therefore performing a space constricting role, moving it higher up in the box. Were we to optimize for simply AirPods, as another example, that would be a branded search, and therefore in the possession regaining or awareness section just down here. SEO is handled for this client by a freelancer whose efforts are measured by how much traffic he leads into the website, which is number 9 up here, just no spoiler alerts, but there you go, thus filling the consideration part of the funnel. Crucially, this freelancer isn't measured on how many sales are made, as he's neither been tasked with optimizing for sales constricting keywords, nor has any control over the website's design and functionality. He could lead the warmest traffic in the world to the site, but if that website's user experience, UX, is no good, we won't get many leads. Therefore, that's why we KPI him on traffic rather than sales. Number 5 over here is Facebook ads, which sits in the niche interest zone. This is because on Facebook, we target the ads according to the interests that Facebook knows its users have told it that they have. Because of the specificity of the audience targeting on Facebook, the platform knows each user's name, age, sex, location, hobbies, and anniversaries, to name just a few. We can be very narrow within this zone, hence why it's over here, implying a closer position to the goal and therefore a higher chance of leading to a sale. It makes sense that if I can target my AirPod ads to, for example, men aged 25 to 35 who live in and around London and have expressed a specific interest in rap music, for example, and have a birthday coming up, with an ad that references those things, so let's say it has a photo of a man or maybe an attractive woman on the underground trying to listen to the new Kanye album on their iPhone, but with fiddly wired non-noise cancelling headphones, of course, and a message about how the all-new noise-cancelling AirPods are the perfect gift for the avid music fan, there is a high chance that that customer will convert, even though the ad isn't personalised per se. One of the major benefits of Facebook advertising is the versatility of its ads platform and the ability to remarket to people who've already engaged with previous ads. As such, I tend to place social ads in the possession retaining, awareness building part of this zone over here, but with a remit to carry the ball closer to the sale before handing the customer off to the website, the shop, the app, etc. So that's Google and Facebook. We also have these two wide channels, which are actually audience/broadcast channel hybrids, in much the same way that wingbacks in a traditional football 3-4-3, such as we have here, tend to have joint defender/midfielder responsibilities. On the right here, we have Instagram, and on the left here, we have PR. On Instagram, this company posts organically, mainly in a possession retaining role. So that's with lifestyle content. So it's kind of in the top half of this section here. But they also do respond to customers' comments on Instagram, thus taking up a defensive or audience channel position. But the real focus of their Instagram activity is influencer marketing, gifting products to other platform users with high follower numbers so that those users will photograph themselves using it, post it on their channels, and therefore raise awareness of our brand with our target audience. As such, because it's targeting the brand, it is positioned quite wide in our niche interest zone and based on the possession regaining or brand building role, but with a remit to move up to possession retaining, the lifestyle content when company posts organically. So KPIs for the influencer activity include the number of people who see the content, and while the self-posted organic content is measured on the basis of engagements, because it's a little bit higher up here, the defensive community management activity is measured on what percentage of customer queries or comment responses resulted, we believe, in a satisfied, happy customer. When it comes to PR, the ability to focus our targeting is diminished. Sure, we can try to target niche publications, but even then, the hit rate on people actually reading the article, listening to the podcast or radio show, or watching the TV/video item that features your company is low, and it's hard to measure, and it doesn't easily translate to sales. As such, it sits right out here in the mass marketing zone and fulfills a possession regaining, brand building or awareness function. In this capacity, success is measured in terms of things like publication circulations or video views, for example, if it's focused on YouTube. Of course, PR by its nature can be attacking or defensive. In the best case scenario, you're engaging with journalists to get your target messages out. That is attacking. However, the editorial nature of journalists means that you're opening your company up to a negative story or review, in which case PR takes on more of a defensive role. In the worst case scenario, of course, the negative story about your company just comes out organically, in which case your PR team is there to place extreme space creating defense, to play extreme space creating defense, because they're attempting to limit the damage caused by the story. Moving on to the strikers or conversion channels, this company has three: a shop, the number 10 here, an app, number 8, and a website, which is number 9. The shop sits within the customer demanded zone. After all, customers have to proactively visit the shop in order to engage with the company. It is possible to move it into wider areas with a shop if, for example, your business strategy is to be like Walgreens in the US and have a shop in very close proximity to most people. This is a mass market approach and sees to creating shops and sees the shop's elements coming out here. As a separate example, having a collection of shops but in very specific limited places, such as Supreme, would move the shop channel into the niche interest zone. But in our case, we have a single shop, and that makes it very much in the customer demanded zone. And in terms of approach, our store is a very characterful, quirky location. In short, it represents our brand quite specifically and therefore has a possession regaining role. We measure success by customer feedback and are most happy when we hear that people have heard about us from friends and recommendations, and furthermore gone out of their way to come and visit us. We also have an app through which customers are able to track their purchases and earn rewards. Because the information the app contains is completely unique to the customer, it sits within the personalized zone, and the proactivity comes from the fact that the app updates automatically with these rewards and notifies the customer once those rewards are there, as in actually in the app. The approach is space creating deep down here because we're not selling to them. Even when the rewards are transactional, for example, giving a product away, it's done with the specific aim of rewarding the customer for their loyalty, thus making them feel like they're part of the tribe rather than as a money-making activity. KPIs are loyalty metrics, repeat purchases, and average lifetime value of our customers. Finally, we have the website, which is our most transactional channel. Because sites are rarely able to recreate the personal nature of an in-store customer interaction, over here, our efforts are focused around making it as simple as possible for the customer to buy online. Images are shot on plain white backgrounds, wording simply outlines product points and price. Where relevant, we mention where stock is low to ensure that customers don't delay a purchase and miss out on buying that product. Of course, the customer still needs to initiate the web visit, unless of course it comes from our broadcast channels such as Google and Facebook. So it sits kind of on the border here between personalized and proactive and the customer demanded zones. But like I say, the majority of the traffic from the website comes from all over the place, and therefore we put it in the customer demanded zones rather than focusing it specifically in there. KPIs are purely focused on sales and revenue taken, no matter which broadcast channel the customer came from. And finally, I mentioned that this company has a substitute that comes on for specific campaigns and occasions. In this case, that sub is identified by the yellow number 6 here. This substitute channel is the trade show. This company selectively attends a couple of trade shows per year with the aim of building their tribe. In one sense, they are awareness building exercises, hence its position as a broadcast channel. But because such shows often place the company next to its competitors, this rarely yields any competitive advantage. The odd exception to that rule is when we're trying to drive awareness for a new product line, for example, and then it is obviously very effective as a broadcast channel, hence why it's here. But otherwise, the company often treats this as an opportunity to learn about developments in their industry, as well as to speak to customers and potential customers about their lifestyle choices and needs, or simply getting qualitative feedback on their products. As such, it can dip into being an audience channel. Often the company will collect data from people they speak to, such as their email address, in return for free samples, and as such, success will be judged based on number of people added to this database, building the tribe, and or the quality and sentiment of the feedback that they get. So there we go, a full company marketing mix with a balance of different types of messages going out to different types of audiences with different needs. It's sort of a lopsided 3-4-3, which more closely resembles an average position map in football rather than the standard symmetrical lineup that you tend to see in a newspaper, for example. But that's okay. It's designed to convey in-play activity as well as rough areas of responsibility, which is exactly what an average position map does in a way that the typical kind of symmetrical version doesn't really do or doesn't try to do. The key thing here is that because of the planning and thought that's gone into each channel and its associated targeting and content, we have a very clear set of metrics by which we can measure success, and of course in so doing we'll be able to be agile enough to be able to amend positions and roles, shuffling players up and down a little bit at any time, with a view to improving the transactional or tribal figures mid-month, mid-campaign or mid-quarter. Again, these are not the only channels that can be added to a formation, and many of these mentioned can also be used in very different ways to how I've outlined them here, but hopefully my taking you through this process will help you to identify how you want to build your formation according to your company's aims and budgets. Okay, I think that's enough for just now. Check back here for a new video every week, each one explaining another part of the marketing process through a footballing lens. If you're enjoying what you're watching, please do like and comment, and while you're at it, why not tell your mates to tell their mates? After all, we all have a duty to share these things we know so that we may improve the lives of others. I'm available for speaking gigs, training sessions and client work. If you'd like to talk to me about any of that, you can do so by visiting x-cmo.com. In the next session, I'll be introducing the idea of tactics and explaining how reframing the question, what do you want to achieve with your marketing, can yield fundamentally better results. Until then, thank you for joining me for this episode of Zonal Marketing. I'll see you next time.